I mean, you guys have probably already seen it. Everyone has this character. This isn't like, okay, just start, you know, whenever you're ready, Mr. Soul. Jesus. What is going on, guys? It is finally time. It is finally time to do my lovely guide on Soul. I've been kind of waiting. The reason why is because I do not have the runes or the gear to really gear this guy up, and I wanted to wait until there was enough information on this guy, because biking is simple, you know. Rune her fast if you need to, so she can get a turn. S2, S3, yeah, and then you just close the book. But Soul, on the other hand, he's a little bit more intricate. He has a little bit more intricacies to him as far as how you can make him useful. So I was waiting to like kind of do some testing, seeing other videos to come out. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want to come out and do a crappy video. Some of these characters are very easy to make guides on, but Soul was just a little bit of intricacies to him, and that's where I want to start off with. We're going to talk about his skills, obviously give you guys some lovely suggestions, and let's get to it. First off, we're going to start off with the lovely, oh god, I forgot I have to hold the button, the S1, the gun flame. Attacks an enemy with pillars of fire. Damage dealt increases if the enemy isn't buff. Gains fighting spirit when a critical hit is made. Now, this was the crazy part, is because when the game first came out, or when, you know, not when the game first came out, when he first came out, no one knew exactly what this was. We didn't know if there was going to have any upgrades to this, but every crit that he gets on his S1 will give him 20 fighting spirit. That is confirmed. All right, so keep that in mind as we go through the rest of it. Then we have this big long, this probably might be the longest passive in the game. Like literally the longest passive in the game. But Volcanic Viper counterattacks and silences for 2 turns when an enemy uses a non-attack skill, or when the caster is attacked by an elite or boss monster. Damage dealt increases proportional to the enemy's max health, which is obviously a really good thing. Can only activate once every 2 turns. Then we have the beauty that is the Roman Cancel. If fighting spirit is 100, if fighting spirit is 100 or is at 100 at the end of an ally's turn, the caster consumes all fighting spirit before extending the duration of a buff that he has, which is weird. I'm surprised they just didn't do all buffs that he has. Well, whatever. And is granted an extra turn. Pretty much, he will just take a turn once he at 100. So every time you crit, you're getting 20 on the S1. You absolutely get none here. So keep that in mind. And then we have the S3, which is the Tyrant Ray version beta. Attacks with a strong punch, dispelling all buffs before making them unable to be buffed. This is obviously really good. You strip and then you and block them, which is always great. Damage dealt increases proportional to the enemy's max health. These enemies max health damage is always great for specifically bosses, because they have an absurd amount of health usually, and it allows you to whittle people down a lot easier without, you know, having to invest, which is also great here because everything he does is damage increase, damage increase, damage increase. Okay, we got 1 turn cooldown, making this a 4-turn ult, which is really, actually that's really good. 4-turn, acquired 3 souls. Also, if you look in the upper, is that he gets 60 fighting spirit. So let's say you start off with the ult, right? You ult immediately, 60, bam, right off the bat. Then you're gonna need 2 additional crits on your S1 in order to get your Roman Cancel. Now that is gonna be where everything kind of like gets all fuzzy wuzzy, has a bear, but you know, that's where it's gonna kind of get difficult for you as far as how do you prioritize his gear. And that's why I was so hesitant to make a actual guide on him, because that was, you know, how to, like, should you prioritize this? Does it really, do you really care if he's, you know, doing the Roman Cancel, or are you happy enough with just this popping off? The counterattack and silence and all that stuff happens regardless. It doesn't matter if he has fighting spirit, that you're just getting an extra turn. And then of course here you have the fighting spirit when you S3, so you will eventually get it, but this is about expediting it, making it happen a little bit quicker. Let's look at his stats before we go into everything else. He does have some pretty good speed. 115 is gorgeous, and a fully awakened you will have 119. By the way guys, if you don't know, you should not have this guy 6-star, because you will be getting him 6-star pretty much for free. You'll be getting the memory imprints, which means you can save yourself 5-star fodder by just waiting to get this character instead, and I think that's what you should do. It's more efficient, but I know some people are probably impatient and just kind of want to have him finished already, because he is an amazing character. Me myself, I am waiting until that moment, so that's why mine is not geared. I'm not gonna gear mine and, you know, waste slots. And I would do it if there was a free gear removal, but as we know, I don't know. I thought that was going to be a monthly thing, or maybe I missed that, whatever. So you also get some crit chance here, as you notice. That's pretty good. And yeah, speed being 119 is really, 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 really good. Also, just because if you bring him into the beginning of the fight, he'll just counter attack and silence a character immediately as soon as they try to do some supporty stuff at all. Or, like I said, if the caster is attacked by a boss. Now what's really cool about that aspect is that if you do run the counter set, he can Volcanic Viper and counter, because the Volcanic Viper is its own separate thing. It's its own move, and then the S1 from the counter attack can trigger as well. So that's really, really, really cool. So yeah, I think that's where it's gonna go. So let's go and look at how the moves look. I mean, you guys have probably already seen it. Everyone has this character. This isn't like, okay, just start, you know, whenever you're ready, Mr. Soul. Jesus. Okay, and there we go. That is the Roman cancel, even though he always gets his turns anyway, so it's kind of a little bit, that is the S1. I do like it. I didn't like it at first, but then I started realizing the fire, like the fire trailing, kind of made me like it a little bit more. Gunflame. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you the S2 in the duffel bag thing, so I'm gonna have to go into the game to show you guys an S2. All right, here we are. This is Golem 5, something weird like that. I wanted to go somewhere where I knew I can get it off, right? So I'll just wait until we just trigger this guy. I hope I don't kill him outright. Yeah, I can't kill him outright, so that's good. All right, here we go. This should work out. Hit some Volcanic Viper triggers. You have to pretty much find a way to utilize that. I love that they gave it 2 functionalities, so it works pretty much. It allows you to pretty much find a great way to just utilize him a lot more. Like, people are discussing how viable Biken is now. Soul is very viable, and you can build him so many different ways. So let's just do that. Let's just go into this, because I don't actually want to waste the stamina on a 5 hunt. I really don't. Sorry. All right, now we're back home. Now, if you guys also, I've had this brought up in some of my videos before. These are guides, guys. I'm not trying to show you guys like the most highest way to get his damage in a specific dungeon or anything like that. The only thing I want to show you guys is what's really good on him based on his kit. That's the only thing I really try to get across for you guys when I do these guides. Expect more obviously coming in the future. I'm just trying to get these characters out because they're the newer characters. I do want to get back to Tamarine, Kayron. I want to also do some other characters that I've really been wanting to flex out, just because it's just fun for me to do these videos. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, because who knows what's on a limited banner and XYZ and things of that nature. I know how to play the game, trust me. But that's where I want to give you guys a good like ground that you guys can build these characters with my suggestions and do well in whatever you feel like doing. So first and foremost, I will have to suggest the counter build. Now, the counter build specifically is because of the S1 and the S2 synergy. The S1 and the S2 synergy is nuts. Now, I'm not even talking about the top part, because the top part, like I said, does not matter. That is going to happen regardless of what you do. But the Roman cancel is cool and dope as hell. Like it says, if your fighting spirit is at 100 at the end of an ally's turn, the caster consumes all fighting spirit before extending the duration of a buff that he currently has and gets an extra turn. So like you said, you can S3, you can take let's say in the most optimal, right? You S3, you get attacked twice, you counterattack both times, you crit both times, then one of your allies go and then you go. That is amazing. And also, pretty much in my opinion, when you have extra turns, it cycles your cooldowns. This one goes down to 4 turns. So as I also mentioned, that's, you know, you use it, it's on 4 turns. You get the roaming cancel, now it's 3 turns, and it's up quicker. And as we're going to be saying, he's one of the PvE gods. He has 2 moves that deal damage based on the enemy's max health. And this first part, like I said, is going to be triggering. He's going to help you guys out, especially if you're struggling on Golem. He can also help you in Wyvern. Like, that is insane. This guy is really, really good. And I think that the fact that they give you him for free and not Biken is actually pretty smart of Smilegate. So I really want to give them a nice job, because Biken is a whole slew of complications. And Soul is kind of complicated, but you can kind of build them very flexibly. The only thing I would say is you can do counter, you don't have to do counter, but I do suggest bringing his crit up. Even if you just want to bring his crit up and make him tanky, I would still say that that's okay, because when you have max HP damage, you don't need to go too crazy into attack for that max HP stuff to go, but then you definitely have to Molagore him up. That is 100%. You're gonna want to do that anyway, especially if you're struggling in raid, in these boss oriented stuff. He's fire, and that pretty much means he's good in the raid. He's not gonna have any issues in the raid. He just needs to survive. So building him with some additional HP, keeping him alive, and, you know, pairing him with people to keep him alive is really where you want to be at. And if you don't go counter, just go full HP set or something of that nature and still get the attack percentages in there. But you don't have to like worry so much about it. Like a Biken needs to worry a lot about attack. Meanwhile, with him, you don't need to worry about it as much, because you're going to be using him for max HP damage. Yes, you can use him in PvP. If he's quick enough, then you're going to more focus on the speed, right? And then you're going to want to have him go first and make a target unable to buff. And then every time a support uses a skill, he will also just counterattack them and silence them for 2 turns. And as you can see, there's no chance on that. So that is very potent. That is a very potent silence right there that is going to be triggering. He doesn't have anything else that really wants you to trigger effectiveness except that. And of course the S3, again, I don't know why they definitely love him and not Biking, because he has 3 debuffs that he can land. Silence, he has the strip, and then he has the unable to buff, and he doesn't have chances on any of those. So I don't know, they just gave Biken all the percentage BS, and as you can see now, he can just focus on increasing his damage. This is kind of what I wanted for Biken as well. So I hope that you guys will go towards that. And I think the only thing we have to really talk about after that is going to be the artifacts. But yes, let me just recap it really quickly. I would suggest counter. If you don't really feel like doing counter, because counter you're going to need some crit, I definitely think you still want crit and a decent amount of attack, but definitely focusing more on making sure he survives, especially if you're using him for PvE. You don't want this super easy to kill instant nuke character, which it was good that he's a warrior, because warriors usually have a little you know, pasta on them, if you will. So it is good, you know, that he just needs to stay alive, do his S3, get his S2 to trigger as many times as possible, get those extra turns. And the extra turn also helps with the first part of the Volcanic Viper, so those turns go by quicker, so he can even better to just keep doing these max HP hits. You can also go lifesteal. I wouldn't think that would be too crazy out of the thing, because he does have a free counter here. He'll be doing a decent amount of damage. He's so solid. He's such a solid character, guys. Please make sure that you get him, and plus the nice little free defense, 12% defense that everyone's gonna have on him. It's gonna make him nuts. You're gonna put him on the bottom slots down here, and then just put your tankier characters on the upper right, and he gives it to the first slot, which is amazing. Which kind of sucks if you're going to counter, because you kind of wanted him to be in the first slot, and then he would boost them up. But you know, that's depending on how you're going to use him. Do you really want to work for the memory imprint, or you want to put him in the front so you can counter and like do more damage? All up to you guys. I'm gonna put mine on counter. I'm letting you guys know that from jump. Mine's gonna be a tanky, like a bruiser counter base DPS unit. That's kind of how I'm gonna run them. And I was gonna feed Ravi to him, but then I realized you were gonna get it for free, so Ravi gets to eat another day. Anyway, let's go into the artifacts. Alright, starting off, we have the Secret Scythe. Now, the Secret Scythe is obviously really good. Once his HP goes below half, he will get an increase of attack and start to heal pretty much for free. This is amazing if you guys haven't seen my Ken. It's a really good artifact because it gives you healing so you can go other gear sets and actually have some form of lifesteal to kind of keep yourself in the game. And when you have, since he does have stuff that does damage off max HP, he can do a significant amount of damage and heal it all back, which is absolutely amazing. It's just so good. So Secret Scythe, I'd actually say, is definitely one of the higher tier picks in my opinion. Damn, all the warrior artifacts are just really great. Doron Dell, if the caster's HP is less than 75%, which is not saying much, you know, it's very easy to trigger this, you get some combat readiness for that ass. And obviously, again, really good. If you have it, I would definitely suggest to use it because it gives him more turns. And as we saw with the Roman cancel, sorry, not the Roman cancel, the first part of the Volcanic Viper, you want your turns to kind of come so you can keep utilizing that first part, especially just the part where if a boss hits you, an elite hits you, you just hit them right back. So combat readiness is going to help you get those turns, especially if you're running a more slower version of Soul. So definitely recommend Doron Dell. 50, you know, this is the one that 50% chance. I would only kind of suggest it if you did have the full, because some of the other artifacts give you stuff immediately, and this one gives you a chance if you crit. And yes, you're gonna, in my opinion, be running some type of high crit on Soul, but the fact that unless it's 100%, it just kind of, it's just, you know, it's kind of not reliable for that additional damage that it's giving you, and it's based off his attack. And I would have to say making him bulky attacker is a little bit more important than this straight, you know, heaven sent devil with a spear, even though I know he has a gun. But I think it's, you know, it's not really the best thing for him. Like, this is good for these, you know, super nuke, gonna kill you kind of thing, and Soul's kind of there to sustain and do damage over time. I don't like the Uber's Tooth, and it's also, it is off a critical hit made upon a single attack, and everything he does is single attack. So maybe I should shut up, because that is everything that he does is a single attack. So I would even want to test, I don't have Uber's Tooth, I'm sorry guys, if someone with Uber's Tooth can test it, if you run counter on him, does the Uber's Tooth trigger twice if you get a crit on the Volcanic Viper and the counter attack? Does it trigger twice? Because that would be nuts. And I can't test that. I don't have the equipment to do so. But if you have Uber's Tooth and you have Soul, which you should, please let me know in the comment section below. I would really appreciate it. That would be so amazing. I will pin your comment to my fucking refrigerator. The border coin, obviously I don't think he has a non-attack skill, so that's a bust. Yeah, bye-bye. Junkyard Dog, 25% chance. As we all know, it's pretty much gonna be on him, but I actually don't like it too much on him because it's only 50% chance, and it's only when he uses a basic skill. Really kind of hints on the counterattack build that I'm selling, I'm preaching, trying to sell you this holy water, this holy Junkyard Dog water, but I would not actually use it. I don't actually like the artifact all too much because it's not 100% chance. If it was 100% chance at max, I would like it, because then you have a way of burning targets on, you know, regularly, which would be great. But 50% chance I feel like is not worth it. L's Fist, as his health goes down, attack and speed go up. I can't say why this would be a bad thing. Obviously I think Doron Dell would be a little bit better because it's kind of hard to see like exactly where those attack and speed things go up, and I feel like if his speed is not decently high, then, you know, the speed increase won't do much for you. But obviously the attack part is fantastic. Can't front on that. But you know, you don't see L's Fist as much. I feel like everyone favors the 5-star artifacts that they have, but still L's Fist really good. Hellcutter, obviously this one is pretty good up there. Attack and crit chance goes up when it's not his turn, and then effect is removed when he attacks. So it would be actually really, really good if it only goes when he uses his first skill, because then you can kind of BS it with the Volcanic Viper. But it does help him eventually crit. So let's say if you're running less crit, and the effect can constantly stack. It doesn't say that it has an end. It only ends when you attack. So eventually you might get a nice crit on the S1, giving you that free 20 fighting spirit, but this one does seem a little weaker in comparison to the other options. So I would kind of lean off and not using Hellcutter, in my opinion, because he is going to get a turn, unless he's like, I guess, dirt slow and going against people that are so fast that they just keep taking turns and turns and turns and turns and turns. Or even it says when somebody, so it's even your own units, right, your allied units. So people take so many turns, then he comes up and he has like a, you know, 5 people went, and so he has a 20% crit chance bonus, and he's just gonna crit, and then I guess I think at that point you also wouldn't want to use counter at that point. So I guess it depends on your gear build for the Hellcutter, right? Strack Gauntlet, always pretty good. Having free effect resistance, especially the fact that this one's easy to, it's a 4-star artifact, so it's easy to get. So you can have a pretty good 60% for free, and the ability not to be stunned up or put with all this nasty stupid stuff. You don't have to worry about it too much. It's pretty good. I feel like this is more of a tech in when you are using them for PvE, and you just don't want to deal with the nonsense that is accompanied by these certain dungeons, these certain parts where they just start plowing you with so many debuffs, and your soul weavers and just can't keep up with it. So you can have him just kind of just sit there and be a standalone. I definitely, this gives my stamp of approval if you just want to have him not be debuffed as often. It's 4-star, and we have to talk about it. Portrait of the Saviors increases damage dealt by 10%. This is actually not that bad, but the fact that it is for when they have more HP is that I feel like a lot of the PvE mechanics start to go sour once they are less than HP, and that's probably when you want to do more damage, is when they actually are below half. So I would say not for soul, but this one is pretty good for nuking. It's more, I feel like this artifact is more for a PvP-esque character. And last but not least, the good old 3 stars, Beijing Joker is a nice little addition if you want to do some additional damage on these big max HP, like if you're going for the PvE route like I am suggesting. Ascending Axe is pretty good if you just need him to be more consistent on those crits. I'd actually even suggest Envoy's Pipe. I do think that when you have a character that is doing so much enemy max HP damage, he just needs to survive, and anything that kind of helps him do that, I'm all for. I do think that making sure that he stays alive as long as possible is just the bee's knees, and the fact that I just said the bee's knees saddens me greatly. But those are my suggestions. Everything else is kind of you know, kind of okay. Sword of the Morning is always pretty good, but Elspeth is, I think, a better version of it, so why would you use Sword of the Morning? But yeah, so that is my soul guide. I think that with that, you guys can get your soul on and really be doing well. I really think this character is very interesting. I really hope you guys like the suggestions. If you guys have any other suggestions, something that I might have missed out, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I'm always open. I don't think that my suggestions are end all be all. I do find people that are like, oh, I would run this on him instead. I'm like, oh shoot, okay. I could see people even running crit damage on him if they have the good enough gear to run crit, and then you run crit damage and he just does bonkers damage. I don't have that type of gear, so I would just suggest nah. But yeah, I think it's really cool how he works. The fact that on the opponent's turn he can technically do 2 attacks, which is insane. As a person that loves to run counter, I'm a proud dad. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.